Hello, I'm Portia. We are going to chat with Chairman Neil Corbin, Chairman of the Small Business Association of Barbados. Hello, Chairman. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, and how are you?
I am doing great.
Excellent.
Listen, this year is going to be one of challenges. I mean, economic growth and 2020, economic growth and 2021, you couldn't speak about them in the same breath at all.
Yeah.
If we are going to have any sort of economic growth in 2022, what do you see as the challenges that are bound to confront the small business sector?
Well, I think the past year has been very difficult because of COVID and also because of the IMF program. It has lent tremendous austerity for the Small Business Association members, and I would say probably the population of Barbados on a whole. And with now phase 2 of the IMF program to be launched again probably in the very near term, that is going to be obviously contributing to the economics of the island, and by extension us as a people and also the Small Business Association. In addition to that, though, we have not yet heard of the government's plan for the growth of the economy. And that makes it very, very difficult to do any kind of prediction or planning because we don't know what the policymakers are going to do. And I don't want to speak too clearly on what I think will be the plan, because I could say something to you this afternoon that could be completely turned upside down when the new program is launched or when we hear the estimates in March. So I don't want to go too far in that. What I can say to you, though, is that MSMEs need to be paid on time. This is what we are seeing now. So cash flow. Cash flow is extremely important to a small business. And whether it's an IMF program or not, that is one of the things that will hamper economic growth in this year and in any year. Because if they're not paid on time, then their cash flow goes down and they're not able to continue. So what we see happening in the island is that, at least from where I sit, we can see it clearly, is that small businesses want to continue. They have the impetus to continue, but the cash flow is hampered. They are constantly called upon to pay their dues, but then they are not being paid, so it creates a deficit. And this is a serious thing that we're seeing among membership right now, and we really need it to be addressed. So if someone said to me, Neil, how would you address it? I would say, pay them on time. Their payments be on time. You know, in the world, there is, I don't want to call it a debt crisis yet because it hasn't been called that, but debt has grown in the past 50 years by some 200 and something %. And of course, has spiked in 2020, right when COVID hit. So we are in serious debt. If you look at the graph of the debt, both the public debt and the private debt, it is a graph that has a very, very steep curve. And then in 2020 it jumps up, really high. And this is what we're experiencing. So I say all of that to say that because of the debt, because of the IMF program in phase 2 coming into play, and also no clear direction from the government, we are hard pressed to really say what would you do. I can't give you a clear answer at this point as to what would we do. Obviously that's the challenges, but what would we do about it? I think we need to wait a little bit and see what comes in the estimates before we make too much.
And while we're waiting on that policy, certainly you're hoping that we adopt the mindset as small business people of understanding that we are worthy to be paid on time.
Absolutely.
That is a mindset.
Absolutely. Our services are not in any way substandard to anyone else's services, and therefore we expect to be paid on time.
That is true.
Yes.
Relief and rescue are important to micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. What are the 5 priority areas of programming you'd like to see from the likes of government, the financial institutions, that includes the credit unions, the civil society, what we call the stakeholders?
Well, this is a broad subject for me. What we would like to see, first of all, let us take it, piece by piece.
Yes.
So looking outward. Obviously, we can't do things the same way. Barbados is 166 square miles. We've existed for all of the time, 300 plus years as a nation, under democracy, and we need to start to do things differently. Looking outward and doing things differently is something that we have to go towards. Because we're small, persons don't necessarily come to us, but we have to go toward that. And the new opportunities that are in keeping with the global way of doing things is something that we have to connect to and go out and do that. So we have to stop thinking, we have to really, really stop thinking of ourselves as small Barbados, but rather see ourselves as Barbados, the Republic, in a global setting, and start to go towards that so that we can become players in the global market. I do not like, persons tend to say, Barbadians are not that way minded. Well, not yet, but it will become so in 2022. We need to move towards that. Then the financial institutions. Right now we're seeing financial institutions being more protectors of lending, of funds, rather than lenders of funds. And banks in the traditional sense have always had risk, yes, but they have to be able to lend. And lending is a very, very necessary thing for a small business operator, whether it be a bank, whether it be a credit union, whether it be just any kind of credit facility, any kind of financial institution.
And lending at good rates.
And lending at good rates, yes, lending at good rates, and to be able to take persons at their word. Yes. As I said before, there will always be risk either way. I think that there needs to be a policy on the commercial lending for credit unions, for instance. So far that is very sketchy,
Yes.
It's not, and you have to go to banks. And then when you go to the commercial banks, it is by no means easy to get any financial aid from the commercial banks. And I say so without any hesitation at all. Looking inward now, and this is where I really get passionate. Patriotism. Patriotism is key, because looking inward, we have small businesses that are functioning every day in this country. We have 1,200 plus members of the Small Business Association, plus 6 member groups. And the problem is, and I speak also from a personal standpoint in my own business, is that we find that Bajans don't like to buy from Bajans. That's putting it quite bluntly. And also the big organizations, retail stores, the supermarkets, it is difficult for the small operator to get a place on those shelves. But yet you see a multiplicity of products coming from all over the world coming, and the shelves are stocked full of these things, when a lot of those products are actually made on island by small businesses, by large businesses, enterprises here. But yet for some reason we seem to think that what's outside is better. And I have never been able to understand that. And I think that for the membership of the Small Business Association, especially because that's the context in which I'm speaking, there needs to be, if it is made on island, that needs to be the first priority on the shelf. If it is not made on island, or the variety is not there, then we can start to look outward. But we need to stop all these imports. So looking inward, that's my thing. And then, of course, to get the ease of doing business.
Yes.
The ease of doing business. Government in its policy making at this stage in the game, we have got to get past this bureaucracy that we have to deal with all the time. The bureaucracy is onerous to persons looking to start up businesses. We need to aggressively remove Barbados from the bottom of the list, of the ease of doing business list, to the top. And Barbados has done extremely well, and the government of Barbados did a very admirable job in handling COVID, where they had to operate on a global level. And we know what our Prime Minister, we know the level of respect that our Prime Minister got when she operated on a global level at the conference that she spoke at, that she led. And I see no reason why we can't have that same level of representation on a global level to move us from so far down the list, almost one of the most difficult places on earth to do business, to one of the easiest places on earth to do business. Portia, I say it with no regret, and I say it with no apology, that I think that we are far too far in to be still having this problem. I think we need to get ourselves up to the top of the list in the ease of doing business. New Zealand is an island. Yeah. New Zealand is, I think, number 2 in the world on the ease of doing business list. And I don't want to say where we are. we are too far down. It is painful to contemplate some of the archaic bureaucracies and policies that we have to go through to do business. And of course, persons are looking in to see, well, how easy is it, and then they don't come because they find it very difficult to invest, And then the cost of doing business. Well, the cost of doing business obviously is a great deterrent, and it also plays back into what I said before about having cash flow. So the cost of doing business is a great deterrent. And some persons will say, well, it's because we import everything that the cost of business is so high. Well, you know what? I tend to agree, but I don't think it's necessary. I think we need to stop importing everything and allow the Barbadian public and those entrepreneurs and the business operators to begin to do business. The more input you have into the business, the more business the business will make, and then we obviously from that then the persons start to have a better quality of living, and the whole economy then begins to become warm and heated, because there's more business. If a person is making pepper sauce, for instance, but there are 5 other pepper sauces on the shelf that have come from an overseas territory, they're still selling pepper sauce, but maybe at 4 to 5 times less than what they could be selling. So the revenue generation is 4 to 5 times less than what they could be doing. And I don't need to. This is not an economic forum, so I don't need to explain. Probably may not be able to explain what that generates too. But I think anybody that knows business will understand that the more you put through it, the more revenue it generates. Yeah. So we're one of the most heavily taxed countries in the world, and then to have that also added to it, it's difficult. It's very difficult. I've said a mouthful on that. But that's just my passion, So to have relief and rescue in the MSME sector, yes, we need it desperately, but it's not something that we can do on our own. We do need policies in place to help us to be able to function both on a global platform where we will go out to that, and we need to adjust our mindset to that we become global people, but also inward as well, where the priority would be to let our own businesses here function within our space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As difficult as it is to do business in Barbados, as much as we can improve on that, some businesses did actually manage to innovate during the toughest time of the pandemic. Now we know necessity is a mother of invention, and we know that Barbadians are very innovative people.
Sure.
To what do you credit this ability to be resilient, to be innovative?
Barbadian determination. That's in our blood. That's in our culture. We have as a people know how to get through. But it doesn't mean that we have to fight our way through every single thing. Because I don't want to seem like if I'm talking of cross purposes to what I just said, and now I'm saying that we can get through anything. There has to come a time when we our wings are now used and we're able to go higher and become more, not only resilient, but more, what should I say? I don't want to use the word well-rounded, but we're more efficient in what we do, and we can strengthen the Barbadian economy because of that. So
there's less of a struggle.
Less of a struggle.
Yes.
Thank you. That probably sums it up nicely. The MSME sector, though, has been resilient because it's so nimble and so responsive. So where you get a single person in a business, they're far more responsive than a big corporation. And for instance, you get a digital operator, where their actual address is not brick and mortar. They can function from anywhere. They can have their laptop, even their phone, and they can do business from anywhere. So I can call in and say I have a problem with my website, and he can fix it in a parking lot. So it makes a lot of sense. And it may sound funny, but I don't think there's a single IT professional that's unemployed in Barbados, because of the protocols that that were created because of COVID. The IT professionals have obviously had to step up, and everybody was meeting online, and everybody would have their little challenges and their issues, but the IT professionals have fixed it and have done very, very well. So the services sector of the Small Business Association is a prime and shining example of the resilience, as we spoke about, and also the ability to move quickly during COVID. It is a shining example of it. Services sector especially. The other sectors as well, but more so the services sector. They have done very, very, very well. Very well. And I think it is not only because how we are as Barbadians and how we are accustomed to making things work, but also because we are able to be nimble and move quickly and serve the purpose, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Advocacy is one of your pillars of operation. What is first on your lobbying agenda for the Small Business Association this year?
You trying to get my secrets?
Oh, yes.
Oh, dear.
Tell all.
Well, I can give you some.
Okay.
I can give you some. The first thing is cost of living and the cost of doing business. As I said earlier, that is the most pressing matter for every one of us. The cost of living and the cost of doing business. We as Small Business Association members, we know that the members try their hardest, but if they are constantly faced with a situation where it's one step forward and two steps back because the cost of doing business is so high and the cost of living is constantly rising, then it places us at a serious disadvantage. We are the second, I think we are either the second or the third most expensive place to live in the world, in the entire world, this 166 square miles. And that has no shining value at all to me. Not at all. I really think that it's not necessary, Of course, it's easy to say that. There's a lot of things that feed into that, and we've had conversation to that already. But it needs to be stopped, though. We need to stem it, and we need to be able to be much more efficient in the way we do business within the island, so that our cost of living and cost of doing business is not so high. So in order to move towards that, there are 5 things that I will give you that we intend to lobby for and obviously have advocacy for this year. Number 1 is the cost of fuel. That is a great cost to small businesses these days, whether it is gasoline or diesel fuel. Across the entire spectrum of the Small Business Association, because everyone has a car, everyone has most business persons would have some sort of vehicle that they have to operate, so it's a cost. And the second one would be financing, as we spoke about the banks and the credit unions. So the ability to obtain secure financing, that's what I mean. And it is so difficult these days. It just seems as if there's some sort of a blockage and a mindset there that lending is not our business anymore. We want to make sure that our bottom line looks good, so we're going to charge as much fees as we can, but we're not lending you any money. Then we have the garbage and sewage tax. That has been seen across Barbados, whether you're a member of the Small Business Association or not, as an extremely unfair and very controversial tax. And we intend to address that this year for our members. We intend to do that this year. The 2% fee on all external purchases, also very controversial, also very, very difficult to maneuver, because it's a cost that is really unnecessary. Now some persons may say unnecessary because you don't know the whole picture, but I think I know enough to know that it's unnecessary, and I would like it for it to be removed, to be frank. And then the final one I'm going to give you, because I can't give you all. The final one is the number portability. Among our members, there is a great call to address this, and we are going to address it this year, where a person can be with one service provider, mobile service provider, and they decide from an efficiency or from a cost standpoint to move to another service provider, but they now can't move their telephone number with them, and that in itself needs to be fixed. I do not think that is fair trade. I think that needs to be addressed, and we will address that this year. That is that's the fifth and final one that I'll give you that we need to address. There are more, but those are the 5 that I will give you at this time. Portia, I'm concerned that we need to do things differently. We cannot continue, especially since COVID, and we've been forced to do things differently there. But as the country opens back up to its full capacity and the children go back into school and so on, we cannot do things the same way. The world itself has changed. And if we think that we are going to return to the good old days, I think that would probably be one of the most dangerous things that we could possibly think about to do at this time. We must not return to the good old days, so to speak, in the same way of doing things. This is the golden opportunity to address matters that have been pending at CARICOM level, to address matters that have been pending on a global level, so that we can begin to operate on a global level. We are no longer small little Barbados, just operating within 166 square miles with our culture and I is a Bajan kind of thing. I is a Bajan. I am, and no one will ever take that from me. But I'm concerned that we are going to come back to doing business the same way, and therefore we will gain nothing. I think that COVID has been a big wake-up call for us. COVID has forced us to do things differently, and whilst we have not liked it, the truth is that there has been a silver lining to that cloud. And if we don't take advantage of that, I think that we are going to be the worst off for it. We don't want COVID. I'm not saying that we should continue in COVID, those COVID protocols. Obviously, we want to get past that, but we've grown as a people. We've grown in our mindsets. We've grown in the way we do things because we've been forced to. But we don't want to now slip back. We want to continue that growth pattern onward with that impetus, and now let us grow and grow so we become more global.
If we don't take advantage of everything that has happened, then we're not really Bajan. The old people would say, never bad happening.
There you go.
At least that's what my grandmother would say.
There you go.
Now, Chairman, if I look at these 5 things that you've given us as part of your lobbying agenda,
yes,
essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, essentially, you're asking all of our main stakeholders to, instead of functioning as the people we come to for customer service, to function as partners.
Of course.
Okay.
Well, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
We are all partners.
We are.
Yes, we are.
And the size of the enterprise doesn't matter.
No.
As long as the focus is moving Barbados forward.
Correct. Correct.
I think the Small Business Association is very fortunate that we have a chairman in the name of one Neil Corbin. Know that the members are behind you. Certainly know that the Secretariat is behind you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you very much for that. I do know that. And it is a great pleasure, and it is also a great honor for me to serve in this position. Titles don't mean a lot to me. I'm not great on those, but the work that's involved and looking after the association and its members, that's what gets me. That's what drives me. I could sit on the floor and still have the passion. Happen to be in this position now, that's good, that's okay. But what the members need, that's what my passion is. That's what drives me.
It's going to be a good year. Yeah? It's going to be a good year for the Small Business Association.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.